about this, about when do we get that spiritual spark. And I have a wonderful spirit guide named Ma. And Ma said it's upon conception. And I thought, that's why we go, oh God, I guess, when we're conceiving, because he says that spark starts at conception. And that spirituality stays with us, but it gets lighter and lighter if we don't tend it, just like any plant, anything that you have. Your spirituality needs to be groomed, needs to be taken care of. And when you say, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, that spark gets a little bit dim. This spark, just like you fan any flame, you need to give it attention. But sometimes we start concentrating more on self. And we think about, well, what am I going to do? Instead of, what does this spiritual energy like for me to do? It's like it disappears. And I have people say, well, I can't be spiritual because I don't believe in fill in the blank. I can't be spiritual because I don't believe in Jesus, or I can't be spiritual because I don't believe in Krishna, or I don't believe in Muhammad, or I don't believe. But you are a spiritual being. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be a religious being. It helps. Many of the people in here came from a very rigid spiritual background. Well, it wasn't a spiritual background, it was a religious background. There's a difference. And as you get older, you start seeing that. How many times have you known somebody that says, well, you know, I'm a very religious person, as they stab you in the back? Have any of you had that happen? And you would go, wait, that's not part of your religion. Because you've taken it to use it in a different way. Because every religion talks about peace and love and kindness. Don't stop and say, yes, but if I'm not religious, I don't believe in God. That's not what happens. It's your spiritual, you were born with that spirituality. And it's a divine spark that we get. And it, just like any spark, it tends to start fading as you get older. But that doesn't mean you can't re-spark yourself. Don't you like that? Re-spark yourself. And so, as you get into adulthood, you get so many non-spiritual things going on. The technology, the media, the politics, all the things that attack you because you allow them to. Spirituality is about putting up this wonderful shield against negativity. And that shield is not made of bronze or gold or silver. That shield is made of energy. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about that spiritual shield. Because that spark within you needs to be kept glowing, kept moving. And remember, how many of you have ever picked up a baby and held it and felt the energy? That's spirituality. How many of you have gotten a new puppy? And you can just feel that spirituality. Or a kitty cat. Or a snake. Because those, when they're brand new, they still have that spark of spirituality shining so brightly. And what happens is we help it dim. We watch how parents parent. I'm lucky enough that I have a granddaughter who is raising 2 little boys with her partner, and they don't say no. Think about being raised by parents that never said no. And what they do is if one of the boys does something different, they say, oh, hey, why don't you come over here? And one of the moms starts singing. The wheels on the bus go round and round, and whatever they're doing, they stop and come sit down and sing with their mom. I thought, what a great way to raise children instead of constantly saying no. I tried that with my boys and I did pretty well. I think that's why they passed it on to their kids. But think about that. Spirituality is not about always saying no. Spirituality is about accepting people for who they are and being there for them. Right now, if you are sitting here and you feel there's something negative around you, to raise your spirituality, you can move, right? If you feel like you're sitting next to somebody that's spiritual, or you don't like the hum of the heater or something, do something about it. Don't gripe about it. This complaining and constantly being irritated by something lowers that energy faster than anything else you can do. And I see it in everyday occurrences. People being angry at something they have no control of. None. Okay, how about the traffic? Don't damn the person in front of you on the freeway. Don't be driving around and go, oh, damn you. They might just stop, and then where are you going to be? You're going to be charged with hitting the back of their car, right? Yeah. Bless them. They pull in front of you, you go, bless you on your way. Use your spirituality in every day. This is not something you just do on Sunday. This is something you use every single day. What about your partner? What happens if they're being a real jerk? What do?
Bless them.
Bless them.
And they hate cancer.
Just bless them. Bless you. Sometimes it might come out like, bless you, but it shouldn't. Because it's not easy to stay spiritual. As I said, there's so many things trying to pull you away from spirituality. But you, each one of you, has that spark within you that I want you to start finding out how to improve it. Finding out, when your eldest comes in with a black eye, you don't say, how can you do this to me? I've heard parents say that. How can you do this to me? What do you mean? Your kid's in pain. You're saying, how can you do this to me? That is when we realize that we are stepped outside our own spirituality to be judging other people. That judge not is one of the hardest things we have in being a spiritual person. Because it's so easy to think if you're not like me, there's something wrong with you. If you're not the same color skin, if you're not the same religion, if you're not the same gender, there's something wrong with you. No, there's not. There's everybody here on this planet is a positive person. I'm reading a very interesting book. I'm rereading it. And it's called Till We Meet Again. And it was written by a friend of mine. And it's a story of his parents who, at the end of the Second World War, his mother was in Auschwitz and his dad was in Dachau. And it's the story of the Holocaust written from a first person, because I had a copy that was signed by both his mom and dad. And he talks about what it was like to be celebrating the Sabbath in a haystack in Poland during the war. But the only thing they had keeping them going was spirituality. And for them, it was their religion was part of their spirituality and survival. Our spirituality isn't just about when we're happy. Our spirituality is about what helps us make it through every day. Don't let you be one of those people that was born spiritual and then lost it because you had to be right or you had to make people wrong. And that divine spark, some people call it the kingdom of God. as a Buddhist knew it, nirvana. You've heard it used in so many different ways, in prayers, in songs, in poetry, about what it's like when you're awakened. Well, you don't have to not be. You don't have to be spiritually dead and reawakened. Stay awakened. Stay being yourself in your spirituality. Almost everybody in this congregation is spiritual. That's why you come to a spiritualist church. But quite often you think that spirituality is just being able to talk to people who've passed on, being able to see the future, or being able to talk a good story. It's not, it's living it. And I see people that say, I am such a spiritual being that, and I want to go, bragging isn't necessarily a spiritual trait.
Sounds like a
Okay? It's like, look at how good I am. I am a spiritual being. Well, yes, but you are being. You are a human being. And your spirituality is getting kind of lost here. Because many of you were part of an organized religion, but you really weren't a part of it. You were walking the walk and talking the talk, but not feeling it. I don't know about you, but I was raised Catholic. And I was raised Baha'i, and I was raised Jewish, and I was raised Methodist, and I was, for the first time, I was baptized Episcopalian. So I've been around the block a bit when it comes to various organized religion, and every religion I was in, I thought I was doing really well. But I still hadn't found that spiritual essence of who I truly was. I gave it lip service. And I find that many times people do that. They can quote the Bible, or they can quote the Quran, or they can quote the Bhagavad Gita, but they don't live it. They quote it. Have anybody ever met someone like that? They talk about it, but what they're actually doing is kind of like a person who says, oh, I love everybody except her. Do you know what she did to me? What did she do to you? She told me I looked fat. And don't you right then want to say you do? You know, it's like your spirituality goes out the window too. You know? But what happens is we give away our spirituality to other people. You know, I had a little boy once came up to me, and he said, "Why are you so fat?" And the mother went, and I looked at him. I said, "You know, when I was your age, my mother told me if I ate a lot of candy and a lot of cake, I'd be fat, and look what happened." And the mother winked at me, and the little boy went, "Really? Yep." But you see what I mean? I could have made him wrong.
You did hold out your hand for a tip from her.
But so many times people say, well, they said, so what? They said, find a way of making it positive, or find a way to discredit it, or ignore it, or just say no. But don't carry what other people say around inside your heart, inside your spirit, because the only time those words hurt is when you let them hurt. And so, as spiritual beings, we can just bless it. Oh, isn't that nice? That's the way they are. That's the way they feel. Now, what happens if you feel like, but I've lost that? And what do I do about it? Well, I have a handout. How many of you got a copy of the 7?
Probably nobody.
Probably nobody.
Yeah, because it was with your sermon.
No, it's sitting in the back there. I thought,
I believe we have a volunteer one.
no, it says,
So we need a handout person?
Some in the
We need a hand. Hey!
Yeah.
No.
7 ways to reignite your spiritual flame.
I picked it up.
Yeah.
Not your-
You made one up, Colleen. I'm so look at you.
job,
Yay! Give some credit to those folks that looked around a bit when they walked in. Okay.
Okay, let's, Simon's.
And so what this is about is putting the spark back.
That is cute. Are we gonna do the side?
And the first one,
Right? What is it again? You said 7 things, but you didn't say.
oh, 7 ways to reignite your spiritual flame.
Okay, thank you.
To put the spark back.
I got one.
Okay.
You can read it, you can share it. Here we go, Marie's got some.
Share that with coffee cups.
The first one is live a contemplative life. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be like the Buddha and sit under the Bo tree for hundreds of years.
Thank God.
It is simple as sitting with a morning cup of coffee and reflecting on your life. How many of you take time to reflect on your life?
Much to my discomfort.
Much to your discomfort. Well, then start looking at all the positive. Look at the positive things in your life.
It's good eventually.
Yeah.
First few minutes are just very uncomfortable.
Yeah, okay. And don't start out with being contemplative around the things you don't think you're doing well. Let's do the things that you just, it's, think of all the things you're gonna do in the future to make your life work. Explore different ways to meditate. Talk to Sean. Sean knows more ways to meditate than anybody I know. Raise your hand, Sean.
Sean,
Yay!
yay!
He can tell you. He is incredible. Janet Childs, who was here today, is great. We have so many different people, and Dr. Eileen is good at meditating. April's good at meditating. Raise your hand, April and Dr. Eileen, yeah. There are so many ways to meditate. It doesn't have to be any more than the way I do it every morning. I stand in the shower, and I let the water beat on the back of my neck. And this is after I've washed every part imaginable. And then I stand there and let the water beat on my neck, and I go into meditation for 10 minutes. Because that's all the hot water I have in my tank. And the minute it starts running cold, meditation's over. But it's amazing. Don't be around me if I haven't meditated. It's not pretty. The other thing is getting out in nature. It doesn't take much. Just taking a walk. It feels so good. And how many of you write down your dreams? Yeah. Keep a notebook. Keep
I couldn't read it when I woke up.
Keep a recording device. If you can't read it, keep your phone next to you, and so you can record it on your phone when you wake up, and you've got it. But these are insights into what you need to know. The other thing is serving, helping others. We need a lot of help here at CCL, so if you figure you don't know where to volunteer, we've got jobs for you. Because serving that speaks to you. It makes you feel good. Study the best spiritual ideas. Whatever philosopher you enjoy reading, read. Listen. Everything's on Kindle, books, computers. We have more ways to get spiritual ideas right now than they ever have before. You no more have to go out and with a hammer and a chisel put it in stone. No, you can get new spiritual ideas and incorporate play. I have one of these things that I do that people say, I think she's crazy. Isn't that fun? When it gets really hot in the middle of the summer, I go down to Cesar Chavez Park and I jump in the fountain. And there again, I jump in the fountain. And lately I've kind of walked into the fountain. My jumping days are kind of over. And when you get out, you're all wet. And then when you walk, you go squish. But you're cooled off And everybody around you says, oh, I wish I could do that. Just do it.
Right.
Or walk into the ocean. Do something that's just fun because you want to, because it's spur of the moment.
I'm a swinger.
You're a swinger. You go to the park?
I go to the park and swing.
That is wonderful. And if you haven't done that, just go to the park and get in the swing. It's so amazing how well it feels. And there's so many other things. Playing hide and go seek with kids. That's so fun. I love the kids that
Playing
hide
anything
behind
with
poles
kids.
that are this big around, you know. But there are so many different things you can do to get in touch with that spiritual being of who you truly are. And when you run out of ideas, go into meditation and say, you know, I'd like to find more ways to put the spark back into my life. Because there are as many ways as there are people sitting here today. And you know, when you do it, you're going to find that's one of the best ways to channel. When you're doing something you enjoy, you're going to notice a little flicker of light. You're going to notice an energy that changes. You're going to feel a shift. When you're surrounded by people you love, when you're doing something you really want to do, there's an energetic shift that happens. Follow that thread. Follow that energy. And you'll find that you're talking to people that are no longer there. You're talking to people who have passed away. Or I do astral travel, so I can travel to different places of the world. It's easy. You just get into that space and you figure that I'm going to be in Paris right now. My great-grandchildren are in Paris at Disneyland. And so I just can close my eyes and then be there. Astral travel is amazing if you haven't tried it as a spiritual way to move and go places. Because sometimes you get tired of where you are. And you need to just grab that spark of spirituality. Do it by doing something different that you never thought you could do.
Dottie,
And you'll find out you can. Yeah,
can I add something to that?
sure.
I've had 6 heart attacks so far. 3 years ago, they gave me,
6 months.
no, 8 years ago now, they gave me 3 years to live. And that's when I started doing bucket list items. Go to Maui, went marlin fishing, started touring and singing all over the United States. Did all kinds of fun stuff. Don't wait till you're retired or until you have to stop to start doing bucket list items. Picture 1 per year. Do 1 bucket list item each year and have a ball.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you. And don't forget, talk to the people who've gone before. And ask them for help and ask them for answers. You know, you are part of a chain of all of those who went before and all of those who are coming. And the more spiritual you are, the more you'll be able to communicate. And now it's time for our choir again. Thank you for listening.
Because Andrew Casey